in the enactment of AB 685, the Human Right to Water Policy, several years ago. I just want to add my thanks to you for your attention to this issue and for remembering all the way back to 2012 when AB 685 was passed, putting into state law the Human Right to Water Policy. It's clear to all of us that the State Water Board, supported by Cali EPA, gets it. Your staff report today is really encouraging. Section 106.3, the Human Right to Water section of law, contains not only the ultimate policy objectives as reflected in staff report earlier, but it also includes a mandate to all state agencies that undertake actions that may relate to the policy. Your staff summarized the mandate with regard to the State Water Board, but I want to just read a little bit more of that mandate that's actually in the code. It says all relevant state agencies, and I emphasize all, including the Department of Water Resources, the State Board, and State Department of Public Health, shall consider the state policy when revising, adopting, or establishing policies, regulations, and grant criteria when those actions may be pertinent to the policy statement. Looking at that mandate, the UC Berkeley International Human Rights Law Clinic examined what that requirement means to consider. And they reported that, and you've probably seen their report. I don't have a copy with me now, but it's a brown jacketed report that they did, kind of adding some definition to what that mandate includes. And they came up with 4 basic points that are required as a minimum structure to kind of meet that requirement of considering the policy when carrying out activities. And just briefly, what they found is that state agencies need to evaluate, identify, and give appropriate preference to projects that advance the policy, first. Second, that they need to avoid frustrating and unduly delaying or otherwise burdening efforts to accomplish the policy. Third, that they need to ensure communities intended to benefit from the policy have an opportunity for meaningful participation in the adoption of the guidelines and in project funding and selection decisions. And fourth, that they make available to the public information about the factors the agency considered in furtherance of the policy, what impact that consideration had on its decisions in light of all the reasonable options, and whether and how projects funded pursuant to the provision advance and support the implementation of the policy. All elements of Prop 1 have a potential for impacting human right to water, either positively or negatively. It's not just the set-aside amounts for disadvantaged communities that are pertinent here that we're speaking about. They're the obvious ones. But other ones can have an indirect impact or a secondary or unintended consequence. So the fact that some are obvious and some are not so obvious doesn't excuse an administrative entity from considering the human right to water policy. That includes all other elements that maybe come before the board, but also that elements of Prop 1 that will be implemented by Natural Resources Agency, for example. We recognize that specific mechanisms to consider the human right to water policy, especially the specific tools to evaluate the impacts and effects of projects, may not be obvious and may not even be available to us today, but it doesn't excuse that we have to look at it and try. After all, we're all just learning in this process. So I thank you very much for leading the way. We appreciate your work.
Thank you. Look forward to your help, too. Other thoughts or questions?
No, just want to thank Gita and thank staff for your hard work on this, and thank to everyone who stayed for this item and offered thoughts and suggestions. I really like the idea of a resolution, so I would request, Gita, that you work with the various stakeholders and draft something for our consideration. And since I always love to give deadlines, how about in 6 months?
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you. It's really, it's an honor to work with all of you and all of you on this. Really, this is going to be the work of a lifetime for all of us. So great start, really great work, great attitude, great heart, great couch. And really good suggestions. So we'll take the next steps together and really appreciate it. Thank you. With that, we're on to board member reports. Who wants to start? Dee Dee, want to start?
So I spoke at 2 events over the last couple weeks that it's interesting because I think there's a little connection between the 2, even though the groups don't have anything to do with each other. One was yesterday at the Appraisal Institute. I spoke before this group that gets together periodically to get updates on appraisal issues, land value issues. That was in Modesto. And last week I spoke to a group of commercial banks and their clients. This is the same group that I spoke to a year ago, Risk Management Association. So a small group of them decided that they wanted to have a more in-depth discussion. And I think what's going on here is that the lending institutions and the appraisers are starting to take a look at water issues maybe in a little greater detail, very much concerned about the drought and the impact that that'll have on land values. And I just use it as an opportunity to talk about a variety of different issues, irrigated lands, regulatory programs, and also the groundwater legislation. I'd say for the most part, they're still in learning mode. There are many areas of the state that have had water issues for a long time.
Oh, sounds great. Thank you for taking that on. Oh, mine's still on.
Hello? No, it's working.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I'll just mention one thing. I went to several different events, but I had lunch with a staff person that I didn't, I've been here 8 years, and it's the first time I had ever met him, Eric Burris, and he does a lot of work on training at the regional level, but also other entities in monitoring streams. And he has a lot of teaching modules and that he's put on YouTube because you can actually access them more easily on YouTube than you can on our system, which is more chronological. And so what it said to me is that, we have these gems scattered throughout our organization who are doing amazing work, and maybe we need to have a special celebration of, and maybe a special presentation of some of these individuals who are doing special stuff that we just don't see on a regular basis.
Yeah, because it doesn't end up in a board resolution or a board action. That's a great suggestion.
I'm glad our Delta Water Master stayed for the whole meeting because the item I wanted to report on has to do with him. I attended a meeting that Michael organized to discuss the issue of using satellite imaging to do a better job of estimating and reporting consumptive use in the Delta. It was a great turnout, a great deal of participation and discussion, and I think a real commitment towards working together to at least develop a work plan and see where we go with this. So I now also should let you know that I received great feedback and comments from some of the participants on you and your role in facilitating this discussion. So a great way to get started on this effort, Michael, and wanted to let you all be aware of what our new Delta Water Master at least has initiated that shows a great deal of potential. And in related to that, the other item I wanted to give you a heads up on was I had a meeting regarding an informational data system that was developed. And as a result of that discussion, I found out something that I actually had not been sensitive to, and that is we are struggling with juggling a lot of IT issues relating to data systems. I mean, the data issue has come up several times in a lot of ways. And without, taking up time today and getting into the details, I wanted to alert Mr. Howard that one of the things that I would like to explore further, especially with Greg Gearhart being the new head of OEMA, is a better understanding of the various data projects that we're trying to juggle and trying to prioritize some of them, because I know that Greg's working on stormwater data system, and we have a wetlands data system, and we have just a bunch of IT data needs, not to mention all the drinking water stuff. And at some point, if we ever have a priority discussion, I would like to suggest that one of those discussions be focused on information systems and have, at least I want to have a better understanding of what it is that staff is trying to juggle and perhaps weigh in terms of our priorities in terms to the extent that we can, and become better educated and informed about this juggle, give staff some direction with respect to where the focus should be.
Well, at the staff level, as you might imagine, we have a lot of discussions about IT systems and about what our needs are. And of course, we have many, many different activities, and each of them have, IT needs. And so working out the total vision and the approach for, our IT network is something that, like I say, we spend a lot of time on, and we'd be happy to spend some time with the board members on it as well.
And just for my colleagues' information, the reason I got involved in this issue was it was the outgrowth of one of the items that are being discussed as part of the cost of compliance effort, particularly by the WDR stakeholder group.
Yeah, I think that was the 401 CERT application processing, which was another interesting story, but that be happy to engage in a discussion on with you sometime. But yeah, we have 1,000 of those kind of stories, unfortunately. So it is a constant struggle, but we'll try to put together some information and bring you folks into the discussion.
Just an FYI, Jonathan represented me at Region 4 in Los Angeles at the last board meeting, and Maria Camacho, who's one of the board members, suggested that Felicia contact Google and get help with our data system.
On it. Okay. Good. I have a contact. Actually, I have a lot of contact. That's fun.
Oh, good. Here are just a couple things that you fellow board members might be interested in. On February 5th, Assemblymember Shannon Grove and Senator Annie Vidak, both from the Bakersfield area, invited me and Rob Eagle and John Bishop over. And it was one of those ideas that's come out of the drought situation, which is, wouldn't it be a great idea if we could recycle some of that oily, briny wastewater that they bring up? And so they introduced us to an entrepreneur. And of course, they wanted to do it yesterday, but Jonathan and I explained, the Porter Cologne considerations at our higher level, and referred them to Clay Rogers of the Fresno office of the Central Valley Board, and they're working away on now coming up with the solutions from a regulatory standpoint to make sure, that there's accountability in place and standards are being met, but that, an innovative reuse project might be possible coming online this summer.
Oh, that's great. An additional one, because a tremendous amount of that water is recycled and reused in agriculture.
Right, and so this is the bringing up the wastewater from oil extraction. Yeah.
Exactly. A lot of it already is.
Yeah, and
Even more would be.
yeah, so that they have a pretty a large amount of potential with these facilities that they're looking at. So then also I was on a panel of 7 different agencies that each have pots of money with relation to Prop 1, the water bond, and the Mountain Counties Water Resources Association invited us. I represented our board there, and it was interesting. I was struck by, the challenge, but the opportunity, that we have with our different pots of money in a place like the Sierra Nevada, where projects that will lead to water resources sustainability cross these different pots. So it'd be ecosystem recovery, climate change, resiliency, and then water supply development, maybe for the disadvantaged communities where we get involved. And so we were re-emphasizing the need for us to align as the action plan calls us to do as state agencies. But as these applications come in, it was refreshing to hear that all of these 7 different agencies are on track to have the application process ready to go around July 1st, like we're endeavoring to do with our 5 pots. But I just was encouraging those who were applying. I reminded them of Darren's point about the single application, which was a good message to give. But that we should be expecting ourselves to be working together across agencies to be creative in how the pots of money are cobbled together to do projects that really have meaningful long-term sustainability. So they were real grateful with our comments, and I know the dialogue's just beginning out there, but that was 150 different folks were in the audience, and so it was a nice meeting, and Mountain Counties does a great job of getting folks together. And then finally, I won't go on and on about it, but yes, last Friday I did attend the Salinas Valley tour, and I would just point out a couple things. That the Central Coast Water Board has been working 18 months to try to get this put together. Working with partners who are here today from the EJCW, but just getting everyone's schedules lined up and getting the bus and everything else. So it was a great opportunity that I was able to get on board with 3 Central Coast board members and a bunch of their key staff, including Executive Officer Ken Harris. And, a couple of takeaways. I think it's real important to acknowledge that folks in the disadvantaged communities can't come up here to Sacramento, very realistically. That it's very valuable, or even San Luis Obispo, right? It's really valuable for us to spend time in their neighborhoods. We went to San Gerardo in the cooperative there, where they have their story of successful infrastructure, but kind of not meeting the affordable part of the Safe, Affordable Drinking Water Act. And then learning from folks that aren't necessarily disadvantaged community, but they're down river or upriver from Soledad, we have a mutual water company, and they're seeing nitrate impacts, and how do they deal with it? And then Las Lomas, which is a community up in North Monterey County, which is a victim of its own success in terms of a lot of development in unincorporated areas without adequate wastewater or water infrastructure downstream of agricultural areas. And so sort of a land use challenge there. And the kind of issue that we aren't going to necessarily get on our radar screen without the assistance of folks like EJCW and the Community Water Center who are out there in the community and can bring these cases forward to us. So I was struck by that need for partnership. So in the end, I want to really acknowledge the efforts of Vice Chair Monica Hunter, who really helped pull this together and did a great job kind of leading the tour along with the EJCW folks. And I strongly encourage you, in your cracks of time to be able to participate in these type of tours. I think folks really appreciate the personal contact, and I think it's real rewarding to see, how much they care and are willing to step up and team with us to get solutions together. So, thank you.
Fabulous. I'm just going to mention a couple of things, one amusing and one just a marker for figuring out how we engage in it. The amusing one was going with Debbie Davis to see Levi's Stadium, which is the first LEED Platinum football stadium, NFL stadium. And it was also a chance to meet with the varying water and wastewater agencies in the Santa Clara Valley about their recycled water plans and successes. So that part was very inspiring. The facility itself uses 84% recycled water. They're dual plumbed and they use it all for toilet flushing and outdoor, all their irrigation, et cetera. Everything is separated in addition to having very low flow fixtures and the like. So all of that was really terrific. The funny thing walking around the stadium was you saw these purple pipes, and they were actually this gorgeous kind of burgundy color, technically in the purple arena, but more on the red-purple side than the purple pipes we're used to seeing. No, more like crimson. Yeah, it's like this color. I'm trying to find somebody wearing this color. And it was really pretty. I kind of liked it, but I thought I didn't know that would really count as purple pipe. And then they got to it's gorgeous. It got to the presentation. It was like a really good nail polish color, that kind of color. And if I take off my shoes, my toes would be that color. It was really cool, kind of metallic. And so we got into the presentation, and they were talking about the proposal, and they put up a picture of the recycled water do not drink sign, and that one was even redder than the normal one. And then they had a picture of like a bright purple, like this, which is what we're kind of used to. And they said they had a note of Vikings or Ravens color rule in the stadium.
Oh.
So
that's why they went to the other color.
Yeah. Team spirit. Whatever. I thought that was funny. Probably technically legal, but unusual. I don't know why. It just totally amused me. And then the other thing was I spoke with the State Forestry Association. Nick and others were very helpful in getting me information for that. And we talked about a number of things. Folks from other agencies, Mark Nekedum, Chuck Bonham, Ken Pimlott, were all there as well. They had two of the 4 sessions they had on that day were about carbon, which was absolutely fascinating. They had a panel of environmental groups, and they had a panel of registry experts at another time. And one of the things I did talk with them about, which was apropos of that, was the Water Action Plan and the role that upper watersheds and Mountain Meadows will play. That's a part of the Water Action Plan we haven't really built out yet. It's signposted, but we've been really focused on drought response and water supply response, but that full-on future of how we do forest practices in a way that will allow for more snow to fall and to stay shaded on the ground. And the assessments we've seen, I know Roger Bales and others have done a lot of this work, very active conversation, as I understand it, within Aqua, but also within a host of the upper watershed folks. And that will be a role where the resources agencies will be leaders in it over time, and there's work going on now, but our regional boards and we will be playing a role. But it's sort of a glimmer of hope off to the future. Won't replace all the loss of snowpack, but can protect what snow we do get. And so it was kind of nice to spend time in a space talking about future scenarios that are hopeful. So I just thought I'd flag that. I know a number of you have talked with a number of both NGOs and consultants and others about that issue over time. So I just wanted to flag that it's an active discussion with the Forestry Association as well. Great. All right, anything else? Well, thank you all very much. See you soon. The meeting is adjourned.